Welcome to the Leader's Edge podcast. I'm Sandy Laycox, Editor-in-Chief of Leader's Edge. In this second installment of our Personal Lines podcast series, we have Leader's Edge Associate Editor Chris Hann interviewing Elizabeth Chrane, Chief People Officer at OneDigital. As an overachiever in a small southern town, Elizabeth grew up to endure the financial crisis from inside the mortgage industry, a big transition to insurance, and another one from marketing to HR. Listen to her story of strength, perseverance, and a love of people.
Well, we are here with Elizabeth Chrane, who is the Chief People Officer at OneDigital. And Elizabeth, thank you very, very much for taking the time to talk with me. I know it's going to be interesting. You have an interesting background, and I'm anxious to get into it. So,
thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. You told me that you were raised outside of Atlanta in West Point, Georgia. Tell me a little bit about West Point, Georgia.
Yeah, well, there's not a whole lot to say about West Point. I always say that I'm an Atlanta native because I was born in Atlanta and I reside here now. But when I was younger, my family did move and I went to school around the West Point, Georgia area. It's a small textile town, just a little slice of Americana in southern Georgia, right on the Georgia-Alabama state line. It was a great place to grow up. Okay,
so Western Georgia. You also described yourself as a typical first child overachiever.
Yes.
So tell me what that means.
I have one younger sister, but when people ask me about my childhood and how I spent it, I definitely was one of those that I was a joiner. I joined all sorts of different things. I played all different sports and joined all the different clubs. Interesting fact, the high school that I went to was so small that it was only 15 people in my graduating class. And
wow.
So to have a lot of different activities that our school offered, we basically had to do it all. So I did everything. I'm only 5'3", but I somehow managed to play basketball and be a cheerleader and on the track team and softball, while also running for, student body offices and being a part of all sorts of service organizations. So we did it all. It kept us busy from morning till night.
Wow. I guess there's no overachiever like a small town overachiever.
Yes, absolutely.
When you were growing up in your small town, who were your mentors? Who were your heroes? Whether they were people immediately surrounding you or people who were just out in the world who you admired?
Yeah, I would say in my school, I had a favorite teacher that taught me a lot of different things, but he was someone who it was my English teacher, so he helped foster my love of writing, but also really encouraged my curiosity, and he was one that never pushed back when I argued a different point or a different point of view, and really saw things. He encouraged me to do that, and that has made me a better person, a better leader for that. It's something that I've carried through. And then I have to give a lot of credit to my mom, because for most of our lives, my sister and I were growing up in a single parent household, and she was an entrepreneur and tiny but mighty person. We people call us both a term we use here in the South, steel magnolias. Okay. Yeah, something where I think we both try and be very personable and learn from other people and really get to know and love other people. But also we're very firm in our beliefs and our value set.
She was an entrepreneur. What did she do? What kind of a business?
Yeah, actually a couple of different, for a while we were growing up, she was in the restaurant business.
Okay.
So we had a couple of restaurants, and those were, gosh, I mean, just really great, but it also taught me that I don't like to spend a lot of time in the kitchen. I can remember coming home from school and hanging out and watching her bake and do things in our restaurants. So that was interesting. But ultimately, she had a very successful travel agency, and ultimately sold that when the travel business really started to change and evolve in some new ways. And so I watched her build a few different businesses.
You went to college at Wake Forest. Why Wake Forest?
I will say I loved Wake Forest. I did not necessarily choose it for any grand reason. It seemed far enough away from my parents, and for me to establish and learn something new. Most of the kids that I went to school with, because of the area, were at state schools, UGA, Alabama, Auburn. They were all there, and I really wanted something a little bit different, smaller, not on the other side of the country, but somewhere far away. And someone laid the brochure on my desk one day, and I thought, okay, I'll go for it. I'm going to apply there. I think with the small high school that I had been to, Wake was the right size. It was about 4,500 undergrad students at the time when I was there. I made a lot of new friends, but also was able to maybe not join everything, but explore the things that where I did not maybe have as much experience as what I had growing up, where everything was there. And that for me was exploring some deeper friendships with different people. The academics there were wonderful. And for me, it was a place where I had gone as the top student of my class in high school to being one of many top students. And that was outside of my comfort zone, but in a really great way. That was challenging and kind of put me in my place, and helped me discover new things about me and other people. I had initially thought when I went to college that I was going to be some sort of drama major. And my mother quickly said, hey, let's not pay everything that we are going to pay for Wake Forest for you to get a drama degree. Like, explore that if you want to, but also go into business. So that led me to get a business degree and also one in art history. So that was where I have explored my creative side there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an interesting combination of degrees.
Yes, I like I said, I would have done drama, but you can't necessarily do work on plays and that kind of thing and do a business degree at the same time. The timing itself does not work out, but you can be in an art studio anytime, day or night. And so I was able to study and create some there and fulfill that. And I think that's really what led me to where I didn't have something specific in mind for what I was going to be when I grew up. But I did.
I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah, same. Room and space for that. But it did leave me in a path for marketing and communications, because I feel like that creative side of me was fulfilled on one hand, but I also got a great business background in a lot of different areas. And so combining that and bringing that to marketing, which is where I spent the first half of my career, that was a great combination for that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You went into you were in a mortgage lending on the marketing side of a mortgage company.
Yes.
And then 2008 came along.
It happened. Yeah.
Did you think, oh my gosh, this is the end of the world? Tell me about that experience for you in that business at that time.
Yeah, it was really tough. The company that I worked for at the time had a huge, we had grown so quickly. I was one of the initial people in the company, and I knew that we would grow a lot through acquisition, and just, the business was booming at the time that I came in 6 years prior to that. And so I was hired to build a team and build a brand and really look at how we were doing that and scaling that across all of these new acquisitions. It was a great time, and my team grew like crazy during that period. And to have to go 2007 going into 2008, basically lay off my entire team, watch the business just shrink, people be terrified, so many different things. My husband was also in the industry, and the company he belonged to went bankrupt, and just, it was one thing after another. And so that is, before I got the phone call, which I knew would come to tell me this was the end, I started looking, and someone referred me to OneDigital and said, it's a great company. It's, you'll love the people that you could work with there, and they're looking for someone in marketing, and they're going to grow the same way. They're through acquisition, through a lot of new ways, and they have that growth trajectory. So I was intrigued, and I jumped there. And I will tell you, my first day at OneDigital, I attended a sales meeting, and they started talking about ACA and what is going to happen and all of these things. And I went home and I told my husband, oh my goodness, I should have done my homework, because I have just jumped out of the frying pan into the fire. There is another crisis that is going on that is, outside, but it will affect another great company. And here I am in the midst of it. So
I was almost going to say that sounded like a very seamless transition, but what you just told me makes it sound like it was not so seamless.
But I will say, Chris, that one of the things that I loved about this is, and one of the reasons why when I started my job search that I selected OneDigital, is that the leadership that I talked to there were all really open to new ideas. So that sort of entrepreneurial spirit and looking ahead of the curve, what looked like a huge challenge that we were going to be facing, those discussions that I walked into that I had no idea what they were actually talking about, were really based on how do we make this an opportunity? Like at the time, our business was really all with very small businesses around the country. And that was what we thought was mainly going to be impacted by ACA. And we thought this could be a huge negative impact to our business, or we can pivot, really embrace this, see how customers really needed help through this, be their business partner in that, and continue to evolve our business to take advantage of other opportunities so that we're more diversified. And while I didn't understand the opportunities at the time, I did understand the mindset that the leadership had. and really wanted to be a part of that. So while I was somewhat terrified by things that were going on outside of our control, same as what I had had to deal with in the mortgage industry, it really, I knew I was with the right people.
Okay.
And here I am for almost 15 years later.
I guess adversity can create opportunity, right?
Absolutely.
What's the best part of your job?
The people. It really is. I just have the best fortune of working with an amazing team of people, not just the leadership team that I work with, my boss, our CEO, Adam Bruckman.
I asked you about the best part of your job, and I'm going to ask you about the worst part of your job, or maybe I'll phrase it and ask about the least, your least favorite part of the job.
I think, first of all, there's a lot of different dynamics when it comes to managing people. And so while I've learned a lot and continue to learn, it is very challenging. The way that I relate to people is very personal. So I'm accessible to everyone in the company. And our entire leadership team is that way. And that's a great thing, but it's also really challenging. So I think finding enough hours in the day, it is probably the hardest thing. And I will admit, one of my personal challenges is that I'm not the most organized person. So, so when there's not enough hours in the day and you're not the most organized person, that can be really rough.
You mentioned to me in the biographical information that you sent to me, you talked about in 2015 moving from the marketing side to the, I guess, human resources side as the chief people officer. Tell me about that transition and why you said yes when they asked you to take on what sounds like a very, very different role.
Yeah, it was a different role. And I think that had that offer come from a different management team or a different company, I would have been much more hesitant to do that. But the way that I saw it, well, first of all, I guess I could back up and say that when Adam approached me about it, he said, you know, we're doing more acquisitions than ever. And one of the things that really sets us apart from our competitors in this space is our culture and the fact that we don't buy companies just to be a part of the financial portfolio. We really want to become one company that is better together. And so I would like to have someone in this role that is thinking about our people 24/7. And I said, well, why did you think of me for this role? And he said, you just have a really natural connection with people. And he said, it doesn't seem to matter what the topic is. If I really want the whole story, I can always come to you, and people have talked to you about their feelings or one way or the other, whether it be around business or how they're approaching work, how it comes to them right now, how they feel about the company. And so I said, okay, you know, I enjoy being that person, and I'd love to really think about that for our company and how we bring in new companies and make them additive instead of just another company that is on a list. And then he said to me, oh, and by the way, will you manage HR? And I said, Well, that's a different story. Like I have absolutely no HR to me was more operational. And I thought, you really need someone who knows that. And that is true to an extent. Like you have to have great HR people to lead those functions. But I really then took that as a challenge to build a team to support the business in a way that was not just the operational function of the business, but a business partner to all of these new companies that we were bringing in and advise them on their talent strategy.
All right, Elizabeth, you have given me much time.
Yes, Chris, this has been really great. I was a little nervous, and you've made this very easy. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. It's good to have a good subject to talk to. That makes my job much easier. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
That was Elizabeth Chrane of OneDigital. Thanks for listening, and tune in to the rest of our podcasts at leadersedge.com.